The film begins in a rough, run-down neighborhood where most people scrape by through shady dealings. Eddie, the main character, tries to pay a mechanic to fix his delivery van, but the money he offers isn't enough. He pleads with the man, explaining that without the van, he can't earn anything. But the mechanic brushes him off, telling him to come back with the full amount. Not long after, Eddie's phone rings. It's his daughter, but he ignores the call. Moments later, his ex-girlfriend rings instead, furious that he's avoiding their daughter, especially since he was supposed to pick her up from school. She reminds him that his neglect was part of the reason their relationship ended. Agitated, Eddie notices a wallet nearby, quietly snatches it, and takes the cash inside. Desperate for more, he starts calling everyone he knows, asking for a loan, but no one helps. Out on the streets, Eddie tests random car doors until he finds one unlocked with a barking dog inside. He gives the dog some water, then later gets another call from his daughter. She's upset, but still tells him she loves him, and he says the same. While on the phone, Eddie spots a spotless SUV. Thinking it could hold valuables, he slips inside. After searching and finding nothing, he decides to leave, only to realize the doors won't open. When someone walks past, he ducks, thinking it's the owner, but the stranger moves on. Panicking, Eddie tries to smash the windows with his fists and feet, but the glass won't budge. By morning, the SUV suddenly powers on and a call comes through. Unaware he's being watched by an in-car camera, Eddie ignores it at first. He then grabs a wrench and attempts to break free, but ends up badly cutting his arm. Even his phone won't connect as if the signal is blocked. Eventually, he answers the call. On the line is William, an elderly man claiming to be the car's owner. Calmly, he explains that his car has been broken into 6 times and Eddie is number 7. Eddie curses him, but William shocks him with a built-in taser system, insisting he won't be let out until he listens. When Eddie pulls a gun and fires at the window, the bullet ricochets and wounds his leg. William shocks him again, warning him not to use foul language. Eddie screams for help, but the SUV is soundproof. A woman passing by glances at the car but keeps walking. Losing blood, Eddie begs William to call the police, but the old man refuses, explaining that this car is a trap, his way of delivering justice when the system fails. William says he wants Eddie to truly regret his actions. Eventually, Eddie passes out from blood loss, muttering for water. Later, he wakes up bandaged, with only empty bottles and an old bag of chips for comfort. Starving, he stares longingly at a fast food poster outside. The following day, William calls again, rambling about his life. Eddie, drained and furious, swears at him, which triggers more shocks and torture. The heat turns frigid, music blasts at full volume, and Eddie begins to unravel. By nightfall, shivering and weak, he answers another call from William. This time, Eddie answers. He apologizes for the swear words, and William immediately cuts the air conditioning, a small mercy Eddie gratefully accepts. 6 days into his ordeal, Eddie resorts to desperate measures. He urinates into a bottle, strips off his clothes, and attacks the rear window again, to no avail. Through the glass, he spots a man on a nearby high-rise making phone calls. Panic-stricken, Eddie asks William what will happen if he dies inside the car. William shrugs it off coldly. Nobody would miss him, he says. Their conversation turns into a debate about crime and punishment. Eddie, streetwise and bitter, accuses William of being sheltered and privileged. He fiddles with one of the cameras and is rewarded with another shock. In the course of their arguments, Eddie confesses he has prostate cancer and only months to live. He again pleads for the police, but William refuses. His whole point is that the legal system lets thieves go with little consequence, so he built his own trap. William lectures about harsher penalties elsewhere, amputations for repeat offenders, and then cruelly requests Eddie's social security number. If it's a first offense, William promises freedom. If not, he'll enact his brutal version of justice. Eddie refuses, railing about a rigged system that favors the wealthy and keeps the poor trapped. He admits he clawed his way up from nothing and calls his own theft a foolish mistake. After quoting "Thou shalt not steal," he turns the music back on. Enraged, Eddie retaliates by cranking up the heat. Parched and starving, Eddie tries to catch rain on the sunroof and even contemplates drinking from his urine bottle, but the stench stops him. William taunts him, then asks for the social security number again, this time promising water and to lower the temperature. Eddie gives the location where William can fetch water, and the old man keeps his word. The heat drops and Eddie drinks. Exhausted, Eddie dozes and later finds a few lottery scratch cards in his bag. One turns up a $500 prize, enough to fix the van. He begs for release, but William coldly says Eddie won't be going home. William offers cookies instead. That small kindness reveals an open compartment nearby. When William is distracted, Eddie studies the compartment and photographs it, trying to figure out how the safety mechanism works. He reaches into the opening and in a gruesome moment severs a finger. Despite the searing pain, he presses on and continues to try. William suddenly reappears on the line, asking Eddie what he was up to and reminding him that he never stops watching. By the next morning, Eddie is still desperate, stretching his leg to reach the safety switch while hallucinating about meals he wishes he could eat. With no other option, he grabs the bottle of week-old urine, pinches his nose, and forces it down in one gulp. Later, he wakes from another uneasy sleep and spots a father outside teaching his daughter how to ride a bike. The sight stirs memories of his own child, fueling his despair. In his haze, Eddie fumbles with the controls and accidentally powers up the car. To his surprise, everything works. He manages to drive a short distance before the engine cuts out abruptly. William chuckles, taking over with autopilot, filling the cabin with classical music and steering the car through grim neighborhoods while lecturing about how society is rotten. He pulls up near an alley where two thugs are attacking a man. After honking to draw attention, one thug flashes a gun. William responds by flooring the gas, mowing the man down instantly. The second tries to flee, but William hunts him down and corners him against a gate. Eddie pleads with him to stop, but William presses harder, crushing the thug while ranting about punishment for breaking society's rules. Eddie, horrified, finally admits he understands the point and begs him to relent. William pretends to ease up, saying if the man can stand, he'll let Eddie go. But as soon as the criminal rises, William rams forward again, smashing his skull against the gate. He laughs manically while Eddie screams that he's insane. That night, William continues his sadistic joyride, swerving through streets so violently that Eddie slams into the dashboard, eventually blacking out. When Eddie wakes, William calmly explains that while he slept, he visited Eddie's girlfriend to hand her some money. Eddie begs him to leave his family out of it, insisting he loves them. William dismisses him, saying Eddie is selfish and irresponsible, pointing out his unpaid child and spousal support. William then drives to Eddie's daughter's school. Eddie panics, confused, until William says he wants to see if the girl inherited Eddie's street smarts. Terrified, Eddie yells for him to leave her alone, screaming her name even though she can't hear him. As the little girl heads across the street on her scooter, William accelerates toward her, nearly clipping her. She realizes she's being followed and speeds up, trying to escape. Eddie breaks down, swearing he'll do anything if William spares her. Just as the car closes in, Eddie tries to shoot himself with his gun in desperation, but the chamber is empty. William swerves away at the last second, revealing he had removed the bullets earlier while tending to Eddie's wound, and admits he's enjoying the torment. Shattered and enraged, Eddie finally snaps. He begins ripping out the cameras inside the car while William frantically tasers him, begging him to stop. Ignoring the pain, Eddie smashes the main control screen in defiance. Not long after, Eddie records a voice message for his daughter. He pours his heart out, telling her how much he loves her and admitting that life hasn't been easy. He doesn't want her to think of him as a failure and says he's done everything he could to keep things together. Still, he confesses he might not survive what he's trapped in now. The car suddenly pulls into an isolated spot where another vehicle is parked. A man steps out and introduces himself as William. Eddie yells for help through the cracked window, but William quickly shocks him into silence. Calmly, the old man passes a zip tie through and orders Eddie to cuff himself to a metal bar beneath the seat. Once Eddie complies, William climbs inside, hands him a bag of gummy bears, disables autopilot, and drives off toward the countryside. Eddie spots a bag behind him and assumes the worst. William intends to kill him. When Eddie pleads once more to be handed over to the police, William scoffs. He says Eddie has been stealing for years and now it's time to pay, and that he himself will drag him through the gates of hell. Eddie notices a bracelet on William's wrist engraved with the name Emma. When he asks about it, William admits it belonged to his daughter, and that the classical music playing had been her favorite. William slams the brakes suddenly, smashing Eddie's head against the dashboard. Eddie taunts him by calling him daddy, provoking another violent brake check that bloodies his face. All the while, Eddie struggles with his legs, searching for the vehicle's kill switch. When he presses William for the truth, the old man finally reveals his daughter was killed years ago by burglars who murdered her for just $1,500. Since then, he's made it his mission to punish thieves himself. William raises a gun at Eddie, threatening to end him right there. Eddie, battered and defiant, dares him to pull the trigger, calling him nothing more than a bitter old man eaten alive by anger and loneliness. Before William can fire, Eddie finally hits the kill switch with his foot, causing the SUV to power down and plunge down a hill. In the chaos, William's gun discharges and a bullet ricochets inside the cabin. When Eddie regains consciousness, he quickly rips off the zip tie and turns on William, beating him until his face is drenched in blood. At that moment, his earlier voice note finally delivers now that the network is back. His daughter calls in tears, saying his message terrified her and asking if he's okay. Eddie reassures her he's fine. She reminds him to pick her up after school, and he promises he'll be there. As flames begin to consume the SUV, Eddie smashes at the weakened glass with a hammer. After repeated strikes, it finally shatters, allowing him to crawl out just before the vehicle explodes. William's still trapped inside. Stumbling to the roadside with the $500 lottery scratcher clenched in his hand, Eddie is spotted by a passing driver who stops to help. Later, back in the city, Eddie brings the winnings to finally pay for his van repairs. But when he's told the job will take time, he worries he'll be late for his daughter. Spotting a small bike outside, he hops on and pedals furiously to meet her. The film closes with him hugging his daughter tightly, vowing to do whatever it takes to protect and care for her. And the movie ends here. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon.